Imagine a ship, perfect in its construction, gliding silently across the vast expanse of the Atlantic. The year is 1872. It's early December. The weather is rough, but it's manageable.
Right.
Now, imagine another vessel spots it, sailing erratically. The rigging is tangled and it's moving like a drunkard across the waves.
And that ship is the American brigantine, the Mary Celeste.
Exactly. But when the salvage crew finally boards her, they don't find a wreck.
No.
They find a perfect, functional vessel that has somehow been completely scrubbed of human life.
It's the maritime equivalent of finding a car, still running, parked neatly on the side of the road.
Yeah, the driver's coat is on the seat, but the driver is simply gone.
It really is the ultimate, the definitive ghost ship story.
And it endures for that one reason, right? The paradox of it all.
Precisely. The scene just defied all logic for the time. Here was this sturdy vessel, fully equipped with 6 months of food and water.
And a valuable cargo.
A highly valuable cargo, yes. 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol, all intact. There were no signs of fire, no evidence of a struggle, no widespread destruction.
Yet 10 souls gone.
Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and 7 skilled crewmen. They had vanished.
Absolutely, and it seems intentionally.
That intentionality, that is the chilling core of this whole mystery.
That is.
This isn't a simple tale of a ship sinking in a storm. This is a story of a functional ship being deliberately abandoned.
As if the crew chose the open sea over the perceived terror of staying on board.
And that is the mission of this deep dive, isn't it?
It is. We want to move beyond the sea monsters, the piracy lore, all the sensationalism. We've collected the verifiable facts.
The actual documents.
The historical documents, the actual salvage court records from Gibraltar, the ship's inventory, even modern chemical analyses. We're trying to apply sort of historical forensics to the last known hours of the Mary Celeste.
To understand what could possibly prompt 10 people to willingly abandon a perfectly good ship, and to really understand Captain Briggs's mindset in those final terrifying moments, we have to understand the ship he was sailing.
A ship that, from its very start, seemed to attract misfortune.
It did. We have to go back to 1861 when the Mary Celeste was launched under a very different name.
The Amazon.
The Amazon, yes. It was built in Spencer's Island, Nova Scotia. This was really the peak era of that region's transatlantic shipbuilding industry.
So it was a well-made ship.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
Roger Marsters, the curator of marine history for the Nova Scotia Museum, he correctly notes that the ship, even today, serves as an index of the extent of the region's historic involvement with the sea.
It was designed to be sturdy, fast,
versatile, but its trajectory was marred almost immediately.
The bad luck started literally days after its launch.
It did. The ship's maiden commercial voyage was planned, but before it even truly left Canadian waters, the first captain, a Robert McClellan, he fell gravely ill, died of pneumonia.
Right away.
Right away, it forced the brand new ship to immediately return to port. And it's hard to overstate the superstitious effect this would have had on 19th century sailors.
Oh, of course. The death of a captain before the first real haul was even completed.
An extraordinarily ominous sign.
And the omens just kept coming. It seems the Amazon was destined to be a magnet for trouble.
A constant string of mishaps. It collided with fishing equipment off the coast of Maine. Later, while sailing in the English Channel, it ran into and sank another smaller brig. And then finally, the ship met its first major catastrophe in 1867. It was driven ashore near Cape Breton Island during a severe storm.
So badly damaged, they just gave up on it.
They sold it as a wreck.
So in just 6 years, the ship had been, renamed, had a collision, sank another vessel, and was finally wrecked, all before it even got its famous name.
That's when the Americans stepped in. She was salvaged as a wreck in 1868, underwent what we know were very costly repairs, and was re-registered as an American vessel.
And that's when she became the Mary Celeste.
Exactly. And just to quickly address a common point of confusion for you, that famous, enduring misspelling Marie Celeste, that comes from a fictional story published by Arthur Conan Doyle much later.
Right, so the name change didn't seem to reset the clock on misfortune, but it did bring a new captain aboard. A man who was the very antithesis of bad luck and recklessness.
Captain Benjamin Spooner Briggs. Briggs bought 4 of the 12 shares in the ship in 1872. He was 37 years old, a master mariner, and a really respected figure in the New England sailing community.
Known for being competent, fair,
And very experienced. He'd already commanded 2 other vessels, the Sea Foam and the Forest King. He was meticulous in his preparation.
and this meticulousness, it extended to his personal life, his moral code, which is a key detail when we look at the suspicion that was later cast upon him.
Absolutely vital. Briggs was a devoutly religious man from Massachusetts, a practicing Christian and specifically a believer in abstinence.
He ran a tight, sober ship.
He did. So the later suggestion, which we'll definitely get to, that he or his officers were killed in a drunken brawl, it just flies completely in the face of his documented character and reputation.
He was also a committed family man. He actually prepared the captain's quarters, which were apparently quite spacious for a brigantine, to house his family.
Well, almost his entire family. He brought his wife, Sarah Elizabeth Cobb, his childhood sweetheart, and their youngest child, 2-year-old Sophia Matilda.
But their older son stayed home,
Yes, their son Arthur, who was 7, stayed home in Massachusetts to attend school.
which suggests Briggs saw this trip as a kind of family adventure, right? Not some perilous endeavor.
Exactly. That decision, bringing his wife and infant child, it shows an almost absolute faith in the vessel after its repair, and in the men he chose to sail it.
He was careful in picking his crew.
Very careful. 7 men in total, including 2 mates and the cook. He specifically wrote about them, noting that they were, and this is a quote, peaceable and first-class sailors.
He'd done his homework, trying to avoid any trouble on a long voyage.
Right. The crew even included 2 brothers, Volkert and Boz Lorenzen, who were experienced German sailors.
And his last known words before departure, they were filled with optimism. It's almost painful to read in retrospect.
It is. In a letter to his mother on November 3rd, 1872, just 4 days before setting sail, he remarked, "Our vessel is in beautiful trim, and I hope we shall have a fine passage."
That statement just underscores the whole tragedy.
It does. He departed confident, well-prepared, and surrounded by his family and a crew he trusted. All the signs pointed toward a routine, successful transit.
Okay, so let's track that routine transit. The Mary Celeste sailed from New York on November 7th, 1872. Destination, Genoa, Italy. And the cargo is where things start to get interesting from a forensic standpoint.
It was 70,701 barrels of industrial alcohol. Now, this is a crucial distinction. We are not talking about drinking liquor.
Right, this was denatured alcohol.
Oh.
Poisonous.
Essentially, yes. It was used for solvents, perfumes, industrial processes, rendered unfit for human consumption to avoid taxes. But crucially, it was extremely volatile, highly flammable.
And it would produce noxious fumes in the right conditions.
Precisely.
So the journey across the North Atlantic in November would have involved rough seas. And we can trace their movement fairly accurately up to a certain point because of the ship's log.
Yes. The ship's daily log was recovered. It was found, oddly enough, not in the captain's cabin, but in the mates' quarters.
And it was kept up meticulously, right up until the end.
It was, right up until the morning of the crisis. The final log entry was dated November 25, 1872, at 8 a.m.
And what did that last entry tell us about their position?
It placed the Mary Celeste just 6 miles off the coast of Santa Maria Island in the Azores.
That's incredibly close.
Incredibly important, yes, because it speaks to Captain Briggs' state of mind about his proximity to land and maybe to known hazards.
But the ship wouldn't actually be found for nearly 10 days after that.
No. On December 5, 1872, the Canadian brigantine Dei Gratia sighted the Mary Celeste. By this time, the derelict vessel had drifted about 400 nautical miles east of its last recorded position.
And the captain of the Dei Gratia, David Morehouse, he knew Briggs.
He did. That's a fascinating layer to this. They were both master mariners. They likely saw each other in New York right before they set sail, maybe shared a meal, compared notes.
So when Morehouse saw the brigantine sailing so wildly, he recognized it.
And he was immediately suspicious and concerned.
Sailing very wild.
Yeah.
It's such a dramatic description. What exactly did the Dei Gratia crew see that made them realize something was terribly wrong?
It was the combination of the erratic movement and the visible damage. The Mary Celeste was just moving strangely, not tacking properly.
Drifting.
Right. And the mate, Oliver DeVoe, who was sent over to investigate, he noted the rigging was fouled, ropes were loose, some sails were missing or partially blown out. It wasn't being handled.
It was a ghost ship, all right.
Yeah, it was. It was just drifting under partial canvas.
So let's talk about the scene DeVoe and his men discovered when they boarded. This is the moment that launched 1,000 mysteries.
The first thing to note is the overall condition. She was seaworthy.
Seaworthy.
Yes. They found about 3.5 feet of water in the hold. Now, for a ship that size, that's significant, but it wasn't immediately dangerous. It didn't indicate a fatal hull breach.
She wasn't sinking.
She was certainly not foundering.
But the scene inside? It's this unbelievable contrast between, chaos and order.
Exactly. The cabins were untidy, but not trashed. They were wet, disheveled, probably from water coming through broken skylights or open hatches.
But the signs of life, they were all still there, poignant and intact.
That's the word for it.
So give us some of those humanizing remnants. What was left behind that just screams they expected to return?
Everything necessary for life. The galley was fully stocked with enough food and provisions to last 6 months.
6 months.
And no food prepared or half-eaten, which suggests the abandonment was swift. It happened between mealtimes.
And the crew's personal gear.
All there. Their pipes, their tobacco, their boots, even their valuable foul weather clothes remained in their quarters.
You don't leave your only winter coat behind if you think you'll be on the open ocean for any length of time.
You absolutely do not.
And the items that belong to the family are what make it so affecting.
They found Sarah Briggs's parlor melodeon, like a small organ completely undisturbed, her sewing machine,
and in the captain's quarters.
The most heartbreaking detail of all, a soggy mattress in the child's bunk. And it retained the clear indentation of 2-year-old Sophia Matilda.
Just the ghost of a sleeping child.
It's a powerful, silent image. It suggests the infant was likely sleeping, or at least resting, moments before the crisis began.
So it paints a picture not of destruction or violence, but of sudden, overwhelming urgency. Everyone, from the captain to the infant, was present, and then instantaneously, they were gone.
That's the key. If the ship was fine and everything they needed was aboard, the reason for vanishing must lie in what they perceived as an immediate existential threat.
One so urgent, it demanded instantaneous evacuation.
But also temporary enough that they planned to come back.
Okay, let's unpack that intent. Let's look at the solid forensic clues. The things that were definitely missing from the Mary Celeste.
Right, this isn't folklore, this is physical evidence. And it points to a planned but desperate evacuation.
It all hinges on 3 crucial categories of missing items.
Yes, all necessary for survival and navigation. First, and most obvious, the ship's single lifeboat, the yawl, was gone.
Which confirms everyone left together.
All 10 of them, Briggs, his family, the crew, they left simultaneously. It was a group decision to evacuate.
And they didn't leave completely reliant on luck once they were in that lifeboat.
No. And this is the strongest piece of evidence suggesting the abandonment was intended to be temporary. The chronometer and the sextant were missing from the captain's cabin.
Okay, for you, our listeners, who might not be immediately familiar, explain why those 2 specific tools are so vital. What do they let you do that a simple compass can't?
Well, a compass gives you direction. But in 1872, to know your actual location, your latitude and longitude, you needed celestial navigation.
Using the sun and stars.
Exactly. The sextant measures the angle between the horizon and a celestial body. But that measurement is useless unless you know the precise absolute time down to the second. That's the job of the chronometer.
So together they let you plot your position on a map.
Accurately. You take these with you if you plan to navigate a small boat to shore, or, crucially, if you plan to navigate that small boat back to your larger ship once a danger has passed.
It's the ultimate "I'll be right back" signal from Captain Briggs.
It is. He was protecting his assets and guaranteeing his ability to find his way either to safety or back to the Mary Celeste.
And the last missing pieces.
The ship's register and most of the essential ship's papers. Again, standard protocol for a captain leaving a vessel, whether he intends to return or not.
So he intended to return. But the scene also suggests he left under extreme duress. We have the missing items pointing to a plan, but we have anomalies pointing to panic.
Yes. Let's focus on the deck. What told the salvagers that Briggs was in a state of high alarm moments before he left?
What did they find?
2 primary pieces of evidence about the ship's stability. First, the sounding rod was found just abandoned on the deck.
And the sounding rod is used to check the water level in the bilge.
Right. The fact that it wasn't stowed away suggests Captain Briggs was in the middle of a frantic last-minute check of the ship's stability right before he gave the evacuation order.
It's a physical representation of his fear, just dropped where he stood.
And compounding that fear was what they found with the pump. One of the ship's 2 water pumps had been disassembled. Taken apart. It suggests a recent attempt to inspect it or repair it. Now, if Briggs was worried about taking on water and then found his main tool for fighting that water, the pump was broken or clogged?
That dramatically amplifies the sense of crisis.
It does. You have a captain who is worried about water, he's checking the depth of the bilge, he finds his equipment is compromised, and he believes he might be rapidly sinking.
And with his family aboard. That's enough to order an evacuation.
And the final act of departure itself reinforces the speed required. There are reports suggesting the tow rope used to connect the yawl to the ship wasn't untied.
It was
Cut with an axe or a knife. If that's true, that reinforces the element of absolute extreme panic. They didn't have time for knots. They just needed distance. Immediately.
So the stage is set for this great maritime mystery. But the story took an immediate, sharp turn toward controversy the moment the salvagers brought the Mary Celeste to port.
They weren't treated as heroes.
Oh, they were treated as suspects.
They sailed the ship over 800 miles to Gibraltar to claim their salvage payment, which is their lawful right. But Gibraltar in 1872 was a colonial outpost.
And the officials were suspicious.
Deeply suspicious of a ship found in such perfect condition, claiming a massive salvage fee.
And the entire investigation was controlled by one man, Frederick Solly Flood.
The Attorney General.
Yeah.
And he's the one who really cements the idea of foul play into the historical record.
Tell us about Flood. He sounds like a character.
He was, by all accounts, a problematic figure. Historians describe him as a man whose arrogance and pomposity were inversely proportional to his IQ.
Ouch.
And he was known to be inflexible. Once he made up his mind, he couldn't be shifted. He was also financially troubled, which suggests he was eager to make a dramatic impression by uncovering some sensational crime.
So this wasn't a neutral judicial review. It was a sensationalist investigation driven by a prejudiced official.
Absolutely. Flood refused to accept the simple truth that the crew left due to a perceived emergency. He was convinced a crime had been committed.
And his theory was?
Mutiny and murder. He hypothesized that the crew got into the denatured alcohol, fell into a drunken frenzy, and then violently murdered the Briggs family and the officers.
But what evidence did he have? It sounds so thin.
He cherry-picked every ambiguous detail. He found reddish stains on a rail and immediately claimed they were blood.
When they were probably just rust.
Or dye from the cargo, yes. He also found a sheathed sword under Captain Briggs's bed and suggested it was part of a struggle, even though a captain having a sidearm was standard practice.
And he even looked for evidence of a staged crime.
He did. He seized on some cuts on the ship's bow and claimed they were made deliberately to simulate a collision to cover up the murders.
He was building a narrative with no foundation.
And he wasn't just investigating the missing crew, he was actively investigating the salvagers, Captain Morehouse and his men.
Accusing them of what? Conspiracy.
Yes, or of committing the murders themselves, possibly tied to insurance fraud, a claim that was later thoroughly refuted. But it didn't stop Flood. He detained the ship in Gibraltar for 87 days.
An exorbitant amount of time.
Which cost the owners immensely.
But in the end, his sensational theory was never proven. No charges were ever filed.
No. But the damage to Captain Morehouse's reputation was done. When the salvage award was finally announced, it was a shockingly low amount. 1,700 pounds.
That's about 1/5 of the total value.
Far below what was expected. And that low amount sent a clear signal. The court, swayed by Flood's rhetoric, still harbored deep suspicions of wrongdoing. It permanently stained their reputation.
It's a perfect example of how an official's bias can create an enduring myth.
It is.
But now we can move to modern forensics. We can dismiss piracy, mutiny, and Solly Flood's drunken frenzy. That leaves us with 2 leading scientific theories.
2 theories that reconcile the panic with the fact the ship was seaworthy.
Let's start with Theory A, the bad pump theory. Water and miscalculation.
This theory is built entirely around that sounding rod found on deck and the disassembled pump. The argument is that Captain Briggs abandoned ship out of a terrifying but ultimately false fear that his vessel was sinking fast.
And this fear was compounded by a potential navigational error.
Absolutely. We know from analysis that Briggs, maybe due to a faulty chronometer, might have believed he was about 120 miles further west than he actually was.
Which would put him in a dangerous mental state.
It would. Then he sighted the Azores much later than he expected. That last log entry placed him perilously close to Santa Maria Island.
And the dangerous Dalabarat Reef.
Exactly. So imagine the sequence. Briggs is anxious about being so close to a hazard. He checks the bilge, finds 3.5 feet of water a lot, but not fatal. But then he checks his pump and discovers it's clogged or malfunctioning.
And why might the pump have been clogged?
Historical records suggest the Mary Celeste had carried coal dust as a previous cargo. Coal dust and seawater create a thick sludge,
Which would clog the pump.
and make Briggs think water was rushing in faster than he could fight it. He might think his last defense was compromised.
So Briggs, with his family aboard, believes he's about to run aground on a reef, and his ship is sinking. Abandoning ship toward the visible shore becomes the only rational choice.
And that's why he took the sextant and chronometer. He fully intended to trail the Mary Celeste until the emergency passed, but in the severe weather, the tow line parted,
Either cut in haste or snapped by a wave.
and the small yawl was left stranded, while the Mary Celeste, relatively fine, sailed silently on.
That is a plausible, compelling scenario. Human error and faulty equipment. But there's a second theory that's even more compelling. Theory B, the invisible explosion.
The alcohol vapor theory. This offers a more visceral explanation for the sudden, immediate panic.
It brings us back to the cargo.
1,701 barrels of volatile denatured alcohol. Remember, 9 of those barrels were found empty.
Meaning hundreds of gallons had leaked.
And in the enclosed hold, that alcohol would have vaporized, creating a dense, noxious, and highly flammable cloud.
The threat here isn't a slow fire. It's an invisible, catastrophic blast waiting for a spark.
Exactly. The spark could have been anything. Friction between barrels, a spark from a metal tool. Captain Briggs would have been aware of the potential, but maybe not the strange physics involved.
And this is where modern science comes in. The 2006 experiment by Dr. Andrea Sella.
Yes. Dr. Sella modeled the conditions of the Mary Celeste's hold, and the result was illuminating. When the vapor ignited, it produced an instantaneous, massive, terrifying pressure wave type of explosion,
Strong enough to blow the hatches open.
which were, in fact, found displaced by the salvagers. And it would produce a blinding ball of flame.
But the crucial detail, the forensic connection, is what happened immediately after the flame passed.
Yes. The physics of this specific vapor explosion are unique. The air right behind the flame front was relatively cool. The blast happened so fast and consumed the oxygen so efficiently that it left.
No soot.
No soot, no scorching, no burning.
Which perfectly solves the ultimate forensic puzzle. How could they flee an explosion if there was no evidence of a fire?
It matches the evidence exactly. Imagine the scene. Captain Briggs is on deck. Suddenly, there's a loud, terrifying bang from below. Hatches fly open and a visible ball of flame erupts.
With his wife and infant child aboard, what would his immediate primal reaction be?
Immediate evacuation. The threat is invisible, terrifying, explosive. He doesn't know if the whole ship is about to blow apart.
So his last act is to get his family to safety.
He orders the yawl launched. He takes the navigation tools, fully intending to tow the ship and return once the vapors have cleared.
And if we combine the two theories, we get the perfect storm of disaster.
It's the most comprehensive explanation. The invisible explosion terrifies Briggs, forcing the evacuation. Once in the yawl, he checks his pump, only to find it's compromised, suggesting they're also sinking.
In the panic to get away from the seemingly doomed vessel.
The tow rope is cut or snaps, separating them from the Mary Celeste forever.
So the crisis was entirely temporary and misunderstood. The 10 people perished not because the ship was lost, but because their temporary escape failed them.
The Mary Celeste, now empty, sailed on, while its crew, in a small, open yawl, quickly succumbed to the elements. It's a tragedy born of rational decisions based on temporary, terrifying, and ultimately misinterpreted evidence.
It's a compelling conclusion. It transforms the legend from a supernatural mystery into a catastrophic combination of human reaction and physics. But the ship's life was far from over.
No. The Mary Celeste continued to sail, carrying that dark reputation cemented by Solly Flood's inquiry.
The vessel sailed for another 13 years.
Under numerous owners. But the legend of the ghost ship had taken root. She gained a fearsome reputation as a truly cursed vessel.
And that reputation followed it. infecting the mindset of the crews who sailed her.
Absolutely. New captains and crews reported constant strange mishaps, minor accidents, feelings of an overwhelming presence aboard. We even have folkloric accounts of her vanishing into thin air near Gibraltar.
But the ship's actual final fate, much like its abandonment, was characterized by human criminal intent. A powerful, ironic twist.
The irony is profound. The foul play that Solly Flood wrongly suspected finally manifested years later. In 1885, Captain Gilman C. Parker deliberately steered her onto the Rochelaure Reef off Haiti.
In a fraudulent insurance scheme.
It was. He was trying to cash in by staging a wreck, mirroring the exact crime Solly Flood had fixated upon. Parker was charged with fraud.
An expedition in 2001 located what they thought were the remains.
But the wood fragments they found were later proven to be from trees that grew years after the ship's demise. The final resting place is still unconfirmed.
But the narrative was already complete. The story had captured the global imagination, thanks in large part to Arthur Conan Doyle's 1884 story.
J. Habakkuk Jeffson's statement, the one that gave us the misspelling, Marie Celeste.
So we conclude where we started, returning to the central tragedy. 10 individuals, including a small child, intentionally leaving a functional ship.
Due to a perceived emergency, armed with the tools they needed for a short separation.
The mystery is rooted not in what destroyed the ship, but in the terrible timing that separated them from it forever.
The only lasting physical evidence of their fate is the missing yawl, the removed chronometer, and that cut tow rope.
If we accept the most scientifically plausible scenario, the terror of that invisible explosion, Captain Briggs's last rational act was fleeing a terrifying threat to save his family.
And you have to consider the sheer agony of those final moments for a man like Briggs. He evacuated his 2-year-old child and his wife onto a small boat, intending to wait out a crisis.
And then the tow line parts.
And he's left watching his perfectly sound ship, his home, his investment, their only chance of survival, drift away under partial sail, forever out of reach. That brief, urgent mistake sealed the fate of 10 lives to the open, unforgiving ocean.
And that is the real terror of the Mary Celeste.